Hey guys, I made no announcements. Hold on, my puppy's trying to. Okay, she got out. She likes to hide out in my room sometimes. But yeah, I didn't make an announcement as I normally don't. Hey Tracy, honey. And that's why I just always tell you guys to make sure that you're subscribed and you hit that bell and hopefully YouTube does its job. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. I grew up on him. I'm from that generation, when I was in high school. I was definitely on top of that. The Rough Riders, all of that. And I still listen to those albums to this day. And, I always had an appreciation for his heart. I could always feel his heart, and that matters a lot. It's one of the reasons why I was such a huge Michael Jackson fan, no matter how weird he was, due to some, shadow work that he may have needed to do, but I could always just feel his heart. But DMX, the same thing. I'm an energy person, and definitely. So Tracy, hold on a minute. Let me share your comments, Tracy. And, she's talking about how he had a rough upbringing. His mother was a monster. Yeah. And honestly, Tracy, this isn't an astrological channel, but I couldn't help but just take a little bit of a look into DMX natal chart. And I did read some articles on him, about his childhood as well. And that was really messed up. And, his lifelong struggles with cocaine as well, because honestly, when I'm looking at his chart, you guys, number one, I'm looking at the numbers first. I'm a numbers person in my life. Like I'm into angel numbers, and I do believe, at least, for most of us who are into it, like spirit knows that it can communicate with me through numbers as well. So there are many ways, but, that's definitely one of the ways. And I'm looking at his date of birth. He was born December 18th, 1970. And then I add up the numbers of his death, which is April 4th, 2021. It equals 18, which is, like the day he was born. And in numerology, well, not more, yeah, I'll say numerology. That number 18 would mean that person would have to be so careful about who they let into their life. Like they're susceptible to hanging around shady characters. That number 18 says a lot of other things as well. But, when I'm thinking about DMX, discernment is just letting me know, like, his death is centered around a shady ass friend. So, discernment is just telling me that a shady ass friend gave him some bad drugs. It's just what discernment is telling me, you guys. A shady friend gave him that. And then when I look in his natal chart, in his 11th house, which deals with your friends, this 11th house deals with a lot of things. We have 12 houses in our natal chart, but in his 11th house, he has Scorpio. He has his Neptune there. Yeah, that's sneaky. That's a shady ass friend all day. Neptune represents drugs. Okay. And that's in his 11th house of friends. So, and then he has like this Scorpio stellium, it just verifies everything that he was saying. When someone has that much Scorpio energy, like him being raped and stuff, that's a fact. That's a fact. Someone taking his innocence in that way, he's not lying about that stuff at all. But, when you listen to him, you could just feel his energy. Any fool, Stevie Wonder can see that he's telling the truth. But, the other thing I want to point out about him, he has a North Node in Aquarius. he wasn't, he rose to fame, but that number 18 also means be in the world, but not of it. Be in the world, but not of it. And I do think that, he had a lot of consciousness of that. And it was like a tug of war inside of him, where he was this big rap star, but he knew, like, spirit was calling him as well to be very spiritual, which he just naturally has that energy. He just naturally has it. So when someone has that North Node in Aquarius, they're not, in this lifetime, they don't need to try to be in the front round. It doesn't mean that they can't have notoriety, but they don't, they don't need to have that Leo energy, which is the South Node of that. But my heart definitely goes out to him. And I want to bring that up on a channel like this because, not to compare the two, but, when you're with that narcissist, that's an addiction too. And I always compare it when I talk to you guys on this channel. I compare those addictions to the likes of drugs and alcohol. Yeah, he went through a lot. God bless him. Like, good Lord. He went through a lot. He went through a lot, you guys. I had to cry. I did cry over this. Being an empath, just being an empath, I could feel his suffering. I could feel so much that he probably had, he expressed himself. He expressed himself, but yeah. I'm just looking at his chart and just everything that played out in his life is right there. Is right there, you guys. And yesterday I did make, I went outside the box on this channel just because, like I said, I want you guys to have every asset, everything that could just help you, have a better connection to yourself, understanding your life and your path, and giving you closure towards the things that you have gone through, and then just so much more that actually can be revealed to you, or just in cases, because they can look into your transits as well, and basically in yesterday's video, was it yesterday or was it the day before yesterday? My last live chat, you guys, I just highly recommended that each one of you, strive to get those natal charts done and see if it blesses your life. It will. Okay. I don't want to digress. And under that live chat, I did leave a couple of very good astrologers that I can vouch for to help you in that. But let me look at the comments here. So Melanie Adams said, yeah, way too much pain. Yeah. But it's amazing to me with him because, he still had his gifts and he was still able to get that out and leave his mark, and that's a beautiful thing. Like his energy, he left a piece of him here where he's in the books, you guys. Even with, all his hardships and struggles, he still got that out. So God was still able, to use him. Tracy says, being with my ex-narcissist was the darkest time in my life. I'm so glad I'm free from that. Yeah. And then, that's going to be great for the second half of this live chat where, I'm going to talk about some things that you guys should, have realized, by now that we may not have been like really thinking about while we're in the thick of it, in that toxic situation. Hold on a minute here. So the child _ wildlife says, if you starve it, it will die. Are you talking about like those, the addictions, Are you talking about that, hon? But yeah, definitely prayers up to DMX. God bless him in his, transition. And, I want to believe that, he's at peace, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And I've listened to some other people speak on this, and the charts were aligned for his death, believe it or not. So it wasn't, but you just have to be careful, because like in the other video, when I talked about us coming in with a certain kind of energy with us, we just have to be careful. Like I said, he was very susceptible to having shady ass people around him, and him wanting to be loved and accepted as a child, bumped him into the shady person that even put him on drugs. And that's fucked up. You don't just, number one, you don't give that to a 14-year-old, number one, any drugs. But then you're giving this child weed laced with cocaine. That was messed up. That's messed up. And he actually has Mercury in Capricorn at the 14th degree. That's him talking to an older person at 14. So, yeah. The chill wildlife says the narcissist from your energy, don't give them your energy. Right, they're energy vampires for sure, hon. Melanie Adams says, I've been changing my whole life around for the better, and some of my family members don't like it, but I don't care. Right. Right. When people are used to you not having boundaries, and they're used to you being more of a people pleaser, they're used to you not giving yourself the time that you need, when it's that new sheriff in town, they might have some resistance to that, but good for you, because you got to do what you do for you. And if they're not being fair, that should let you know, where they're coming from too, hon. But Tracy says, her heart breaks for him. Yeah, but don't, hon. Don't let it break. Don't let it break. Take comfort that he lived his life and he did what he was supposed to do. He did what he was supposed to do, Tracy, as hurtful as it is. And, some of the crosses that he had to bear, that a lot of people had to bear, as a matter of fact. So if anything, hopefully another, as far as making lemonade out of his death, maybe people, if people have family members that are struggling with substance abuse, or, making sure that we talk to our teenagers and children about that. And here's the other thing about it. It's not just about telling people say no to drugs at this point. In DMX situation, there was some other factors going on here. So number one, we want to say no to the drugs, but number two, you can't just be taking drugs from anybody, just like teaching your daughters and your sons, okay, you can't turn your back on your drink. I know people who've had little Mickeys or whatever put in their drinks, and their minds were never right after that. Okay? It's about not being so trusting of, I didn't see that blunt get rolled up. You know what I'm saying? Like, even for the ones that just feel like they're going to have to do it and they're not doing medical marijuana, like, at least just roll your own. At least just roll your own at that point. So, these types of things that the typical 14-year-old would not be thinking about, unfortunately. But for the people on this channel, I always tell you to grab and snatch your kids early, because the world is not like it was even when we were growing up. And, with DMX being 50, you've seen what he dealt with. Okay. So, I enjoy drinking from home, and I rarely drink anymore, honestly, but I do like my Grey Goose when I do. But I enjoy drinking from home, honestly. And I would never go out to a bar and get wasted there and put myself in such a vulnerable state. Even if I was going to take an Uber back, okay, am I going to be getting into that Uber? Oh no, I would not put myself in a vulnerable situation. So beyond you guys understanding that for yourselves. Make sure you're talking to the teenagers and the preteens, okay? Because children are curious. Children are curious, okay? I'm not the only one who probably snuck a drink of your dad's beer or something. You know, children get curious about things. So it's just important to don't be putting it past. And then children these days with these tablets and devices and everything that they can see online, okay, and they're being exposed to, no matter how much you try to do parental controls of this and that. So you can't put it past them. You can't think they're too young. You just can't do that. Don't make that assumption. So we just got to address all the angles with that and show them, give them some real life situations. Hey, show them pictures of people who take meth and what happens to their teeth and their, let them, you ain't got to just hear it out of my mouth, honey. Let's come on over here. I got a whole little something lined up for you to see what I'm talking about. You know, I remember one time my 11-year-old son, I think he was like, I'm so hungry. I'm like, boy, you don't even know what hunger pains are. And then guess what I did? I went on YouTube. This when he was about 5. He's 11 now. And we went and found somewhere in a third world country. I believe these children were in Africa. And their bellies were extremely bloated. And I said, that's hunger right there. I showed him what real hunger looks like. And, you know, you have to do that with kids because, you know, sometimes children, they think parents don't know nothing. That's, you know, their immaturity. But be like, look, you ain't got it. I got the proof in the pudding for you, all right? And he never forgot that. He never forgot it. Never. Okay? And I wasn't trying to traumatize him, but he just needed to understand, you know, how it was really going down in life. So the child underscore wildlife says, our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, anytime we have a death, it's just a reminder of you cherishing the life that you guys have, and is very relevant to a channel like this, because when we're staying in these toxic situations, being abused, getting less than, being stressed out, like, you know, you don't know when your time is going to come. And I pray that we all live our lives to the fullest, and, you know, whatever God wants us to do, we do it, and we do the home stretch of all of that. But whenever we, you know, we have a life being lost on this level, it reminds all of us to definitely appreciate the life that we're given. And it should make you take inventory to make sure that, you know, you're doing this the right way. Okay. Melanie Adams says, a friend of mine's brother is messed up from his drink being spiked. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it happens, you guys. So, you know, you just got to be careful. And then, you know, another angle to this is if you see this generational thing going on, the daddy was an alcoholic, his daddy was an alcoholic, and sometimes it's better for you to not even dibble and dabble, you know. And I told that to my own children, because on their father's side, there's a lot of alcoholism. Their father had that issue, and their grandmother and grandfather. I'm like, the way that's looking, I'm like, you might just want to always just have non-alcoholic beverage. You might not even want to even venture into it, you know, if you know that there's just, you know, these probabilities that it's generational, if you will. So these are other aspects to think about, you know. So the chill underscore wildlife says, that's the way to do it. Drink at home and don't have far to go. And exactly what right. Let me pop my own bottle open. Okay. Let me know that I'm pouring my own drink. Like, and it's not to put fear in you guys. I'm not saying that I don't go out to dinner and have me a sangria, because I do. I do go to places I feel comfortable with, but it's always taking some kind of risk, of course. But I mean, I'm definitely not at some busy bar walking away to go use the bathroom and leaving my drink there. I ain't doing nothing crazy like that. Melanie Adams says, I tell my kids, it's kids in their school who's hungry, and my second oldest got to see what I was talking about. Her friend would come to school hungry and no supplies. Oh, and a lack of love and clothes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Melanie, if you can afford it, if you could afford to help her out, or if you haven't, maybe you could, I'm very open like that. If I feel like a child is, all the kids in the neighborhood, they can get snacks, over my house. They're welcome if their parents are okay. But, I guess now with the coronavirus, but yeah. That's why I know my kids' school, those free lunches and everything, they're able to go to the school each day and still get them if they want, and that's great, because some children, that may be the best meal that they have. They might have parents, like you said, mismanaging the money. They could be addicts or anything. So yeah, it's hard, it's so hard. And when you see kids with dysfunctional parents on that level, like I've seen parents just yelling at a 2-year-old and 3-year-old, just yelling at them like they were adults. I'm like, whoa, like the expectations were just not right. It's not right. And I'm like, well, she's doing this out in public. I can only imagine what she does when she thinks no one's watching, And I have a special spot for children for that reason, because they're at the mercy of adults, and they don't know. You're bruising and traumatizing this child, and one day, they're going to have to deal with this pain and this dysfunction. And chances are, so will the world. Okay. Yeah. So you guys, we spent a little time here talking about DMX, but each one teach one, whatever you can do to help others, it comes back to you guys. That'll be my final thoughts on that. And addiction is real. Addiction is real, man. Addiction is real. But God bless him for sure. And, I'll definitely continue to be rocking his music and keeping him in my prayers. But, he had a lot. He had a lot going on, you guys. He had a lot. And he's probably at peace now, honestly. He had a lot to carry. But, let's go ahead on and move into the second part of this live chat, you guys. And this is where I wanted to just talk about things that we don't realize, when we're in the thick of it. Okay. Yeah. When we're in the thick of that toxic relationship and, still holding on to the hope with that narcissist, or, going back for another cycle of abuse and so forth and so on. These are the things that I would say to that person. Because some of you, hey, I never know who's listening. Somebody here could be struggling with that right now. So you don't have to reveal yourself, but, let's go ahead on. Hopefully my words penetrate you. And for those of you who are free, this is reinforcement. And perhaps, if I mention something that hasn't occurred to you, it's just, extra token of wisdom or lessons that you could definitely take from this point moving forward, right? All right, you guys. So the number one thing here I have on my list is it will hurt less to let go now. A lot of times when we're in that situation, we're thinking we're going to get more comfort by continuing to hold on, right? Because if we're holding on, at least we're not broken up, and we're not going to feel the beginning or that purge that we're going to feel as soon as we disconnect and we go through the withdrawal. Because I do, like I said, I compare these. This is an addiction. It is. And it's a proven fact scientifically in our brain. And the hormones that we're releasing and the dopamines that we're releasing during the love bomb phase, it is completely proven, you guys. And it's very, very similar to alcohol and drugs. Okay. So when you break up with this person, you will feel like you're going through a withdrawal. And that may feel uncomfortable at first. But the truth of the reality is it will hurt less to let go now. Because how many of you can attest to going back and it being worse every time? It's being worse every time. If anything, they might even be up in the ante. And then not only that, whatever you had on your plate, you're putting more on it at that time. Because every time you go back, they're going to be abusing you further. So there's more offenses and more trauma being added to that picture. So yeah, in the thick of it, we're not really thinking that it's going to hurt less to let go now. But we should. And this is something that I definitely want you guys to take with you. It hurt less to let go now. The next thing, you guys, is actually about you and not them. It's actually about you and not them. I spend a lot of time on this channel talking about them, but I actually try to spend just as much time talking about you. But what you'll realize once you're clear-minded is it was actually about me and not them. You were holding on to them due to your own toxicity, right? Your own brokenness, your own insecurities. It was really about you and not them. Okay? Number 3, you guys, any type of turmoil, emotions, or feelings, it really just hurts you, right? And takes away your peace of mind. So what are these type of things? This is revenge, resentment, bitterness. You know, you can put your energy into trying to get revenge, but it's really going to hurt you because you're in that spirit of anger. The resentment and bitterness, you're the one that's feeling that. You can try to make a narcissist feel it, but you're already talking about a person who doesn't have empathy. So you're not penitent. They're not going to feel sorry and guilty for what they did to you. So it just hurts you. It's like a poison inside of you, just like stress. So I see there's a question here, and Tracy acknowledged every time that she went back, it got worse. Yeah. And you can compare that to the longer you're doing the alcohol and the drugs, the more worn down, the more side effects, the worse results it's going to be over your life and your psyche, the more you're going to have to recuperate from. The Chill Wildlife says, do you think it's more of someone looking like a failure because the relationship ended and that's why they don't want to go? Yep. And that's something that I'm going to address here on my list. Yeah, definitely. Let me find that. Well, we'll just get to that. But yes, that can be something that's going on in the thick of it for sure. Kimberly D said, caught Lakia live. Hi, Lakia. Hi, sweetie. And I like your thumbnail or your profile picture. Looks like you was in some nice waters. All right. So the next thing that I have here on the list, so we were talking about, how we put poison inside of ourselves when we're the ones harboring the bitterness and the resentfulness, and we're putting all this massive energy into trying to get revenge on them because we don't understand what the real revenge is. And that's living a good life and getting better, baby. That's really the real revenge. Giving them more attention and time. That's not revenge. That's a reward to them. That's what they want. Because negative or positive, you're still tied up with them. Okay. So the next thing on my list, you guys, is the first time someone shows you who they are, believe them How many red flags did we let go? How many red flags did we minimize, turn a blind eye to, or simply refuse in our own resistance and codependency of wanting to be in that relationship, right? And we just didn't want to see it, or we wanted to try to work around it, or we wanted to think it wasn't that bad, or we wanted to convince ourselves it wasn't what we saw, or we wanted to believe them when they gaslit us to say all those things, right? Yeah. So the first time someone shows you, imagine if you just got out then. How much did you end up tolerating by not doing that? And how short could it have been if you had just done that? You know, that's a lesson that we just have to take. We have to take that lesson moving forward. Tracy says, I stayed because I didn't recognize narcissism and real love. Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like Tracy maybe not even knowing what real love should look like then in that case. Okay, but that's over, and I love me. And I believe you. I believe you. I've been following you, and I see where your head is, and I'm really proud of you, Tracy. Tracy's one of my day ones, so I definitely see her progression. The Chill Wildlife says, if you're in a toxic relationship, you're not a failure, you're a winner. You're putting yourself first, right? If you're getting out of it. Yes. Yes. And that's definitely something I'm going to address too. The next thing I have here on my list, you guys, is you were in love with love, chances are, or you were in love with the idea of loving someone. But if you're with a narcissist, it's unrequited and they're not reciprocating. So it couldn't have been that you were just so in love with them, right? It couldn't have been that. Aw, thank you, Kimberly D. She did, what is it called on YouTube? She made a $20 donation. Thank you, hon. It's been so long since I've been seeing that word. Super chat. There we go. Because it doesn't say it. It just shows it. Aw, thank you, hon. But yeah, you were probably in love with love or the idea of loving someone. And this is all that codependent energy. So I made some videos earlier on this channel that said how it wasn't love. And a lot of survivors probably struggle with that. A lot of survivors struggle with accepting that this wasn't love. All right. But it's true that it wasn't love. So the next thing that I have here on the list, you guys, is the lessons learned should be kept. All right. And this is just talking about not repeating cycles. How many of us learned lessons and then eventually let it fall by the wayside, or we were inconsistent with maintaining what we already know just because we weren't enough out of our toxicity. There was a part of us that was just still too broken, but lessons learned should be kept. So there can't be no exceptions at that point, because as soon as you make that exception, you're right back to what you was dealing with, because it's pretty consistent. A plus B is going to go to C next, it just doesn't change. Thank you, Tracy. I see your chat as well, your super chat for $9.99. The next one, you guys, is never go backwards or never go back. And how many of us regretted that? Because what happened is they're pretty crafty once you put them on a chase. And yeah, you can put a narcissist on a chase by actually sincerely and genuinely moving away. But just like a drug dealer, what will he do? He'll come back with some, like, oh, I got some good stuff for you now. And, when you're not away from that energy long enough, you're more used to being toxic than you are used to being healthy. And it's a huge temptation at that point. Okay. And this is what they do. They'll come back and tell you everything that you want to hear and make every promise, promise you the moon and stars. Whatever they have to say to you to get you to just come back, that's what they're going to do in a moment. They know that they're lying. They know they're not going to fulfill that, but it gets them what they want, which is their foot back in their door with you. And once they do that, they can, re-spark up that soul tie in any other way, even if it's a non-romantic relationship, because narcissists, you can have them in any area of your life, honestly. I just speak on romance because, that's the biggie. That's the biggie. But yeah, so we just can't go back. And every time you thought, well, maybe they changed, maybe they're really sorry this time, or it sounds more sincere than the other times, or they're doing more than they've ever done before because they're desperate to get you back, but they haven't really changed. But they know that they have to give you more. So going back to the other lesson, when someone shows you who they are, believe it. It has to be that way with a narcissist. With a narcissist, does it mean that non-narcissists can't ever change? They can, but even then, you guys, just because of everything that you've been through, I wouldn't tell you that should be risky. I wouldn't tell you to do that. Anybody that's been through narcissistic abuse, you have to have tight boundaries with people. And that's just how it needs to be with you. You've been through enough, you guys. So you just can't never go back, or else you will be going backwards. Okay. And honestly, going back, it exposes your insecurities and brokenness too. When you're going back like that, there's something inside of you that's exposing, whether that might be a little ugly in the moment, but it is what it is. All right. The next thing here is the breakup is the blessing. The breakup is the blessing because your lessons came out of it. Just think of some major business people who have had major failures in business before they had their come up. Like, those fails actually showed them how to go back to the drawing board and do things better. That's why when you guys are particularly dating, I always tell people, okay, it didn't work out, but okay, it just means it wasn't dumb. But what can you take out of that you know that you won't do next time? That's how dating is supposed to be. But for a lot of survivors, they are coming out of that energy of being codependent. And when you have that codependent energy, it's going to devastate you even in a dating situation. Like, I've coached people who have dated someone for just 1 month or something, or 2 months, and they were way too prematurely emotionally attached. Way too much. And that's codependent energy. And then when things don't work out in the first 2 months, you're crumbling. This is very toxic codependent energy, you guys. All right. But see the blessing, like, oh, well, we found out early on it wasn't going to work out. Yeah, that's a blessing, you guys, because time is something you can't get back. Melanie Adams says, right. Yes. And I like that Melanie says she had to show the narcissist basically that she's done with him. And I like the word show. Show. Because actions speak louder than words with a narcissist. Because narcissists know that words are just words until you put actions behind them, because that's what they do. But they're good at using words and weaseling their way out of putting the actions, right? Good. And you shouldn't. Continue to trust yourself, not him. Athena Joy says, I'm still friends with one of my ex-narcs. I'm not a flying monkey. I've been around after his 3, 6, 12-month relationships, and I can never be with him again. But now knowing about the last narc head on, am I missing something? So I'm wondering, Athena, why do you consider yourself a friend of his, number one, a friend of a narcissist? And why do you still want to be associated with him on that level? I'm wondering. But let's continue down the list. I'll see if you, if you want to indulge me on that, Athena. You don't have to. but just wondering. The next thing is breaking up is no reflection of your self-worth. Staying is. That's a biggie. And I believe that goes back to what you were saying, Chill Wildlife, about caring too much about what other people think, right? And also for those that made it to the level of marriage, maybe even for religious reasons, divorce, that D word might be like, whoa, like feeling this is extreme, like you're just hurting God or something. But what I always tell my survivors that have that religious aspect going on is God didn't give you that spouse. You did. You did. It wasn't even the spouse that God gave you. And a lot of times these narcissists are cheating, which God in the Bible does grant or say that you can leave for infidelity, and you can leave someone that doesn't want to be with you. So, God does provide grounds for divorce. Why would he want you to stay with someone that's beating on you and threatening your life and pulling you away from him, just for the religious survivors, So the breakup is no reflection of your self-worth. Staying is, though. Staying with someone that's treating you so poorly is a reflection of your self-worth. And as far as a reflection of your self-worth on a positive note, if you're breaking up. But that codependent energy is when two people come together and they're operating as one. So your self-worth will be completely tied into whether that relationship works or not. So there's, a lot of running themes of codependency going on here. Chill Wildlife says, that's why I was saying before, when they try to hoover you and get back in, if you starve it, it will die. Yeah. I'll say this. I think eventually that's true. But sometimes if you starve it, you actually get the narcissist's attention because they're like, whoa, wait a minute. They're really not used to you standing so firm and strong. They're not going to believe it. They don't like to lose control, right? So it actually might get their attention, and they feel so entitled to having what they can't have. So it might actually put them on a chase. They might be in disbelief, and then it may just be their primary goal just to break you down again. Like, oh no, you think you're going to end this with me? Oh no, I'm going to sleep with that. I'm going to make her sleep with me again. I'm going to get back in with, just to know that they can do it, even just out of pure ego. So starving it might actually send them on a chase. And then that's where it can get tricky for survivors, because they're like, wait, this person is just trying so hard, but the intentions matter so much. The intentions, and then also knowing that you're getting the same energy back. Like I think I put something on a support group today where I said something to the tune of, they're not coming back because they regret their actions. They're coming back because they take rejection hard, narcissists, they have issues with rejection and abandonment. So if you breaking up with them is going to trigger that inside of them, and they're going to want to rectify it because they don't do their own shadow work. Well, why is it that I have an issue, when people leave, so to speak, especially like, it's just crazy. They done did the most, and then they have an issue when somebody leaving them. Come on now. They really are stunted emotionally. They really are, you guys. But yes, it is a narcissistic injury. Absolutely. An injury that, the big babies cannot tolerate. They cannot tolerate, you guys. Tracy said facts. So the next thing I have on the list, you guys, is leveling up in life requires you to step out of your comfort zone. So, a lot of people stay with the narcissist or in those situations because even if it's subpar, even if it isn't really making them happy, is what they know. It's, it's patterns involved here, but you're never going to get what you want. You're never going to go to the next level in life with that type of person anyway. But you're never going to give yourself a chance to get it by staying in your quote unquote comfort zone. Right. Tracy says it's insanity. Well, it's definitely it's not logical. It's not logical. It's very emotional and psychological, which is why, they're abusing you in that way. So, yeah. But leveling up, you guys, are actually getting what you deserve in life is going to require you to step out. It's going to require you to just say, you know what, forget that. I don't care how much I invested in this relationship. I know better now. I deserve more. This person isn't reciprocating. And because I invested in this relationship and because I gave all this time, I'm not willing to give it anymore. I don't care what comes out of this person's mouth, what they're claiming, what they're going to be promising me. I'm done. It's okay to have your enoughs. It's okay. The chill wildlife says, Lord knows we know we can do bad on our own. But this is, yep. And, I definitely understand that statement. But guess what? You end up doing better. You end up doing better on your own because you don't need that type of energy. That is a horrible energy to put into your stratosphere, okay? And I already talked about the dark cloud that's over them. So you're automatically going to start receiving blessings as soon as you let them go. It's just psychologically and emotionally, you have to heal from that codependency and that addiction that you had to a toxic situation. All right. The next thing that I have here on the list, you guys, is listen to your guts. This kind of going in with the red flags, but when we're listening to our guts, that this just doesn't feel right. I could think of so many times, in my situation where my gut was saying, girl, something ain't feel right. Something ain't feel right. And my codependency didn't want to hear that. Didn't want to hear it, but we have to learn how to listen to our guts and get out early. Get out early. You'll see, I give people coaching and they'll be like, what? I was on a dating site and I didn't even like when I looked at his picture in his eyes. I looked at his profile picture in his eyes and my gut said no. And that's enough. See, when we're in that codependent energy, we're always trying to find a way to work around things, to make a way for something to work out, just overly accommodating, or, well, you know what, trying to just be too fair as an empath. Well, we let them prove that they look like the crazy person that I'm seeing energetically, like it's okay. Okay, it's okay. Be like, you could just look in their eyes. Oh, no, I don't like the way that don't look right to me. Boom, next. That's okay. Or you have a few messages back and forth. Oh, no, that rubbed me the wrong way. Next. It's okay. It's okay to do that. It's okay when your gut tells you early on. That's God trying to tell you before you even get into all of that stuff. So it's okay to do that. I'm glad that you've been doing better, Melanie. And Queen Tracy says they literally drain the life out of you. They are draining you guys. And that's why I made that video that I really want all of you to watch about sex and the narcissist. I think I made this about a month ago now. It's an amazing video that explains how you are exchanging energies with people, and with that narcissist, when you have sex with them, is going to make you be incredibly careful moving forward about who you are giving your energy to and your vitality to, and what they're giving you back in return, and how you end up getting a life drained out of you. All right. Just think of you having sex in a narcissist and you're the A1 mountain water. Okay. Fresh out of the mountains, and they're coming with some septic tank water. That's what they're pouring into your water. So once they do it even once, it's completely tainted. But what you're doing is cleaning their water. And what I mean by that is you're giving them some of your energy. So whatever light you have in you, the blessings, the positiveness, and this is how narcissists seem to be doing better at times. because they're getting some of your good energy. When they're with you, they get to share in your blessings in a certain sense. That's why you're improving their life. But at the same token, you get to share in their dark cloud. That's just how that works. And the more that and then that's how it can feel like they're skipping off into the sunset, feeling all energized because they took all your clean water and they were giving you their dirty water. And that's not fair. That's why, back in old days, like, a king will only want to sleep with a queen, so to speak. Does that make sense with you? Like, people did not sleep down. Like, they made sure when they slept with somebody, it was of a certain level. They want to make sure they're exchanging energies properly. So you have to become that way too, because you don't want that. And then you have to repurify yourself, if you will, and that takes time. That takes time, you guys. So this is the next thing that I have here on the list. We simply prolong the inevitable, but we don't stop it. That's something that we can realize, in hindsight, that we may not be thinking of it in the thick of it. We're only prolonging the inevitable. I'll take my situation, my first marriage with a narcissist. And honestly, God told me to not even marry that person. But I was fixed on doing things my way. And so the journey begins. And all it did throughout the relationship was just add more children to the mix. And inevitably, we still got a divorce. It just took more time, more children. The stakes just rose with it, basically. And it's a lot more in the aftermath. So when we stay in situations that we're not supposed to, the inevitable is still going to happen, best believe. But we're just prolonging it at that point. And while we're prolonging it, we're adding more collateral damages. We're going to have more pieces to pick up. We're going to be that much more invested, you guys. And you have to learn how to cut your losses early. And I made a motivational playlist for survivors of narcissistic abuse. And I believe that's like the first or second video in that playlist. And that's a great playlist for if you're just feeling like depression is seeping in, or you're having a hard time seeing the positive light as you're, healing, especially in the early part where you're coming to grasp with things. Because, in a relationship, we're very much, in a lot of illusions and delusions. And finally, all of that stuff has to be shattered. And the reality is just smacking you in the face. And it doesn't feel good when you really have to step out of that resistance and take the acceptance, like, wow, this person did all this to me. Like, and that's why they say that equivalent to feeling like your soul got raped. And then sometimes you literally got raped. Okay. So it's just, there's a lot to digest here. And, a playlist like that can be helpful too. All right. But no survivor has to go at it alone. Definitely build your support system. There's a whole community here, as you guys already see. There's support groups and everything. So even if you don't do the coaching and everything, there's ways to not be alone. Reconnect with your family and friends, all of that good stuff. All right. So the next thing that I have here on the list, you guys, is you guys had toxic chemistry and not healthy kind, like that I definitely want to point out, because sometimes survivors get tripped up with that. They think about the sexual chemistry or the things that they perceive to be, a positive chemistry. And really, when we get clear-minded, we'll see that it was all really built up on our toxicity. Just think of it like this. It's just easy for me to compare this with drugs. When you're getting high off of that drug, you're feeling in sync with it, aren't you? You're feeling one with it while you're in that high. But as soon as you're done off of that high, what are you left with? A lot of times shame, guilt, Now you're trying to steal from your mom or try to get this money. Oh, you were irresponsible. You know, while you're on that high, you're going to feel this way. But as soon as that high is over, you know, and the same thing might could happen while you're with that narcissist. All right, you had sex with them. As soon as that orgasm is over and you come down off of that, you guys are arguing and fighting again. They're back to cheating on you, calling you names, being disrespectful. You know, you find out you got an STD. Oh, now there's a baby maybe coming now and they're running. You know, there's consequences. So we can't, whatever you feel like that good chemistry was, don't be deceived about that. That's not really good chemistry at all. So that's what you need to, you know, reprogram your mind. And I talk a lot about having the right perceptions, because that's what really gets you through. Those right perceptions and really believing it penetrates down into your subconscious so that you can begin to think a new way, begin to see things a different way now. Like, it should get to the point where the thought of sleeping with them should be disgusting to you. You know, that's where I would want you to be. It should be a turn off. You know, sometimes survivors feel like that's the only good thing, but you need to understand, like I said, watch that other video to, like, you know, get more in depth about that. But having the right perceptions and then understanding where that could lead. I mean, we're talking about a whole full-fledged soul tie here. You think that you can just only just sleep with this narcissist and not have any damages or collateral, or whoa, like, you got to really, really think of all the aspects here. Number one, this person is probably not monogamous. Okay. So you're exposing yourself to all types of stuff, but just the energy aspect of it, you guys, that you're exchanging, you're bonding with this person every time you have sex, releasing those hormones. So you got to figure that out. You got to figure that out, what to do with your sexual energy. And I talk about that, you know, sexual energy does not have to be used all the time, especially when you don't have an adequate outlet for it. Okay. It doesn't have to. You can harness it. And there's lots of videos on YouTube of people who harness their sexual energy and how it opens up creativity for them. Start enlightening yourself and get off of the shallow levels of, you know, a basic mammal that just, oh, the moment I feel horny, I have to release it. You know, like, we're going to be more evolved than that. And we have emotional maturity and common sense and logic, and we can reason with it. You know, even an animal, though, let me just point this out. Even animals want to have the best catch. Even an animal, they might make them, the girl might make the men fight over her, and then she's going to take the winner. She don't want no weak vessel. Narcissists are weak vessels, okay? When I do my video about narcissistic children and stuff, which, you know, I'm going to tell you from a clinical aspect, and then I'll tell you from a spiritual aspect. But, you know, you just want to be careful with that. You just want to be careful. You're playing with fire, and, you know, you don't want to have an angry man's child if you can avoid it. You know, if you do, you know, your child could have some of that energy, because half of the DNA comes from the man, you guys. So we just got to be careful. It's, you know, who we procreate with. And I know a lot of us, it's just like, in hindsight, it just is what it is now. And we just have to do the best that we can. But, you know, definitely teach your children about that importance, you know. All right, let me go to the next thing on the list here. You can't compromise your core or your foundations, you know. So basically, being equally yoked and stuff, that's important. That's important. And yet again, we're talking about that codependent energy. That would be the equivalent to, you know, you're a Christian and he's a Muslim, but, oh, well, I guess we can still work. I mean, we still believe in, but no, there's some differences there, honey. There's some differences there. So you can't really compromise on your core foundations. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be that kind of person. Then you'll have to be a chameleon, changing for other people just to keep them in your life. No, it's like, no, either we mesh together or we don't. I don't have to make us fit, you know? So those compromises end up coming back to bite us in the butt later on. And that's why a lot of times when we were in that codependent energy, I will highly recommend that you date yourself and get to know yourself so that you'll know what the deal breakers are. If you know you absolutely hate cigarettes, it's okay to say, I'm not going to date people that smoke cigarettes. You know, it's okay to have deal breakers. It's okay. Or your core foundation, you know, or whatever means the world to you, but they're always picking fun of it. They don't support it. They don't believe in it. That's not going to work out because you still got to be you. You still have to be you. So we got to stop making those unfair trade-offs because that's what's draining to you. I mean, yes, their energy as well, but the fact that they've never really accepted you, who you were, you know, that's the major part of it. So we can't compromise on who we are and what matters most to us. That's it. No more of that. The next thing I have on my list, you guys, is you should not be working to be valued, seen, and acknowledged. And, you know, that just basically means you can't make someone love you. Struggle love isn't love, honestly. That's just two people running off of their toxicity, right? You shouldn't be chasing. It shouldn't be some lopsided nothing. This ride or die, all this. No, it should just be two people loving each other, being there for each other. So you shouldn't be working to be valued and seen. Like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. You see my value or you don't. If you don't see it, you can keep it moving, right? You can keep it moving. No one has time for that. And no one's desperate for no relationships. So if they don't see it, or if they do see it, but they're not respecting it, or they just want to use it, that ain't going to work either. Okay? It's not going to work. The next thing that I have on my list, you guys, is you have to be happy before you bring others into your life. A lot of times, if we keep it real, when we got with the narcissist, sometimes we weren't in the best life. We were trying to, you know, fill voids or rebound. And that's the codependency again. And for those of you who feel like you were in a happy space, that just speaks to your gullibility then. Then you were just probably gullible at that time. And you needed to increase your emotional maturity. And you also need to understand when you are winning in life, when God is elevating you, okay, when he is increased, when you're in a season of harvest, that is when you're going to attract the moochers. Of course. Why? Come on, you guys. They want to sit at the table and eat too. They want to get what they can get too. You're going to attract all kind of people. And that's why you have to have the discernment. You have to be connected to the source. Ask him all the time, reveal my enemies, reveal, and then submit to it when he does, because he will show you. And you might not like it because you wanted it to work out. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to ask him. He's going to show you. He's going to show you. You guys seen that meme floating around? It's like, oh, I prayed to God to show me all my enemies, and I started losing friends left and right. People's, you know, because they weren't really for you. So just be careful. Just be careful if you are in that season, or if you know, whenever you're coming into that increase. Everybody wants to be around the light, even the dark, because it makes them feel better. Okay? So you got to know that. You got to know it. And that's just wisdom that comes with it. And then sometimes, you know, God, he'll consider, like, can I promote her to a certain level? Because I don't want her to just lose it because she doesn't have the wisdom. So you got to know, new level, new devils. All right? Satan, he don't come looking like a devil with horns and a towel. He's going to come looking like everything you think you ever wanted. And then that has to sometimes become a red flag. Like, okay, wait a minute. And it's okay to get everything you ever wanted, but you better get the Carfax. Okay? Just verify it. Make sure that is what it really is, because looks can be deceiving. You have to understand how dark energy works, and he knows what you want. Okay? Oh, she like tall, dark, and handsome. Oh, she like, okay, I'm gonna work through this person. So we can't be shallow either. So we just got to be careful. It doesn't mean you have to live in fear if you're getting what you want in life and you're blessed, but just give things time to prove themselves. All right. Let things prove itself to you. Make sure as best as you can anyway. All right. The next thing on the list, you guys, is love is a verb. Okay. Love is a verb. And a verb is an action. So, all this, but they love me. They're telling you they love you on one hand, but what are they doing on the other? Actions will always speak louder than words. And sidebar to that, verbal abuse does matter. So, and if they're abusing you verbally, then obviously they took an action to open their mouth. Okay. Or if they do actually love and care about you, but their pride and ego is just so great that they want to hide it, then they're still dysfunctional. You see? So none of that works because love is not prideful like that. Love can be humble, but not to its detriment. Okay. For you guys on your end of that. So, love is a verb. Have some action behind it, some consistent action, not just because you're trying to suck me back in and you're good for a few days or a week. Okay. Come on. That's pathetic. So the next thing that I have on my list, you guys, is never lose yourself in a relationship again. We got to make sure it's two people coming together. Okay. And even though they become one in their marriage, they're more than just a husband and a wife. You're still a sister, you're still an aunt, you're still a mother, you're still a career, you're still a business owner. You still have all these aspects to yourself. So continue to just always cultivate yourself, your goals, your hobbies, your bucket list. You got things you got together and things that you have separately in a healthy relationship. But never lose yourself. When you get with these toxic people, you'll feel distracted from your purpose. Your productivity is going down. And I understand, even in a healthy relationship, you're going to have to find a balance because, you got to spend time with your mate now and you got that going on. And so that's going to take some energy, which is why God likes for you to get yourself together beforehand so that you'll be able to time management better than trying to get yourself together and be with someone. You see, it gives you more time to still stay in your purpose if you got yourself together, at least first and foremost. That's the whole idea behind that. So don't lose yourself. Still stay connected to your friends and family, because some of us, we know in our codependency, when we with somebody, we just forget about everybody else. And, there's a honeymoon phase where everybody know that, you may go through a little phase of that, but it should not stay that way. Okay. Should not stay that way. So the next thing I have on the list, you guys, is there's a big ocean with many fish. Billions, as a matter of fact. And we can look at this as other opportunities. So many times I talk to survivors and you would think that this was the last person in the world. And that speaks to the addiction, you guys. You're so addicted to that person. Okay. It's kind of like that drug dangling in your face and you just got to have that one because that's the one right there. You just got to have that hit. That's all you can see, when in actuality, and this is on a toxic end, there's tons of drugs out there, even with that. So it's really not the last hit, but that addiction just making you feel that way. So, there's a big ocean, you guys. The next thing that I have on the list, you guys, is they didn't break your heart. They just stepped on it, So let's clarify that. I don't like necessarily hearing how someone broke their heart. And the twins got their TV super loud. Like, let me just tell them to cut that down real quick. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you how the twins know how to work their remote. It's too much. It's really too much. Because I'm up here telling my oldest daughter to cut it down, and they just did it. Then they just did it. They're like, "Oh, I got it." But yeah, they didn't break your heart, you guys. Just look at it. Yeah, they stepped on it. They stepped on it, but you can heal from it, obviously, because you're still here right now. You know, so your heart ain't broken. It is not broken because you wouldn't even be alive. All right, they didn't break your heart. They just stepped on it, but we're gonna heal from that. We're gonna heal. All right. And, basically along the lines with that is the pain does go away with time, especially if you are going about things the right way. You're going about the healing process the right way. And you're allowing yourself to feel, reveal, and release. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. The next thing I have here, you guys, is being single and peaceful is definitely better than being attached and stressed, baby. Some of us just hold it on just to say, you're still in it and be super miserable. So, hey, I've coached people who've done 25 years and ended up getting a divorce, but they were very stubborn about staying in that situation. And the whole time they were miserable and they were being mistreated, you guys. Okay. So let me see here. The last thing I have here on the list, you guys, is, oh, look at that. 11111. Love it. Make a wish, you guys. Like visualize something really positive that you want. It better not be no narcissist. Don't use your 111s for that. The universe ain't gonna give you that. Your toxicity will, though. But the last thing I have here is you cannot dibble and dabble, you guys. You can't dibble and dabble. That means what I mentioned earlier about as far as, don't think that you should fuck with them a little bit. Don't just make them a friends with benefit. As a matter of fact, that's really demeaning. Like you were, and I made a video about this like 2 years ago, probably, where I talked about how a narcissist can make you a primary source, right? And then demote you. Actually, you guys are broken up and they know they can't have you all the way. They can't have all the control, but they can get breadcrumbs from you. And they're greedy, so they're like, I'll just take that too. And then suddenly now you're the side chick or something. You see, it's demeaning. Like they should not have you on any level at that point. Okay. I understand some of you have to parallel parent and, gray rock and deal with them in that way. So, or maybe you might be going through a divorce and there's minimal contact for that or whatever. But, and that's fine. That's fine. But as far as the dibbling and dabbling, well, I'll just only have sex with them here and there. It's still going to come back to hurt you. And don't think for 1 second that your emotions aren't still going to be tied up in this person. That's just not how us empaths work. Okay. And then you're also giving your space, you're taking up space that could be for a eventually healthy person, and you're tying yourself up with this person. So you're sending a message that you're not really even available for new energy and new opportunities and something that's actually going to be much better suited for you, right? At that point. So you got to think about that as well. And for you to be working so hard to cleanse that energy, every time you dabble back with it, you're putting some of it back in you. So you're kind of like going against yourself at that point. So don't let your hard work be in vain, okay? How many of us like, oh, here's a day one again, because you went back and you did something. And now your day one had to start over again. Just like if you're an alcoholic and you're a certain amount of years clean, you go back in and you're actively in your addiction again and you get off. Now your day one starts over again. So, and all those pains and that purge, you're going to have to feel some of that again. So it was enough to go through it once, you guys. So learn how to, live a full life and finding satisfaction. And know there's plenty of other fish in the sea. Okay, you guys. So I wanted to share those things with you, and hopefully it reiterates things that we don't need to be keeping, don't need to forget, basically. So does anyone, before I end this live chat, does anyone have any questions about their situation, about, their healing process? Anything I can answer for you guys before I end this live chat? I'm more than happy to answer questions. Live chats are a good time to, ask a question. Beyond that, I'm working on, the next uploads, or I don't know if I'm going to make it a live chat, or I think I'll just make it a video. I don't know. What do you guys think? When I talk about narcissistic children or narcissism in children, I think that's a better title. That's a much better title for educational purposes. That's a better way of saying it, honestly. Do you guys think I should make that a live chat or just make that an upload video? So I don't know if you guys have like a lot of questions on that, because it's going to be surprising probably what I have to tell you about that. So I've been debating if I should, how I should present that. No votes. No votes on that. And no questions. All right. Well, I will probably make it a video. I'll probably make it a video then. All right, you guys. Well, I don't see any questions. So, I always extend at the end of all of my live chats to remind you guys that I do have the private and public support groups on Facebook. If anybody wants to join them for additional support, I try to put up a daily status where you can, if you're having an off day or you have questions or something's going on, you can, write under the stat, and myself or other survivors will hop under there and support you and give you, their suggestions. Queen Tracy says, it's hard for me to trust people. Why after dealing with one? Well, that's logical, psychological, that you would have, you may have some trust issues, but I've made videos on this, Tracy, and I want you to consider you trusting yourself, actually, to be able to discern people, to be able to, figure out intentions. Because usually it's ourselves that we need to trust more than us trusting other people. As a matter of fact, I think I have a whole playlist on trust too. There's not going to be too many people that you're going to be able to trust like that. That's real talk. But you need to be able to trust yourself to be able to see the red flags, and not only be able to see them, but to be able to protect yourself, to be able to have a certain amount of shield around yourself, Tracy, so that you can use your emotional maturity to maneuver situations as need be. So you shouldn't just be trusting people like that. You shouldn't. But you need to, as long as you trust yourself, that's the main thing. What's Mary barking at? I have a little puppy and Mary, come here, Mary. I think I put her in one of my videos, but not many. I have to show you guys how big she's gotten. So does that help, Tracy? It's okay. Now there's a difference between... Jada, can you go see what's going on with Mary? Jada. I think she's sleeping. Come here, Mary. Mary. Oh, she's barking to come in my room. Come here. My door wasn't open wide enough for her. Oh, you're a clever one. Oh, my goodness. I gave her a little bath yesterday. Oh, but I don't want you to live life, Tracy. You're going to hear her trying to lick me and everything. Say hi, Mary. Oh, my Lord. You don't have to do all of that. It sounded like you was downstairs barking at first. And then she does this thing when she's walking. Hold on, you guys. Get her, Jada. Apparently, my daughter is downstairs. Like, I'm up here freaking out. Like, is somebody in the damn house? Like, Mary don't be barking for nothing. She hears somebody outside. Because, you know, dogs got them laser ears. She hears something going on outside. But, yeah, Tracy, I don't want you to... It is normal. And sometimes that's a part of PTSD, even though I don't feel like that's what... I don't feel that energy from you. I don't feel that with you. But I just wanted to throw that out there. But, you know, sometimes they were just such good con artists. It's like, whoa. Whoa. But like I said, it's more about trusting yourself, Tracy. Once you can do that, it don't matter what they got up their damn sleeve, because you're going to figure it out and you can protect yourself. All right. So here's, looks like another question. Calvin Ware says, I think about my ex-wife. It's been 5 years and I have custody of the children, but my days most of the time is great. I'm in Texas and she's in Michigan. Oh, wow. You guys have some distance. So I think that's good. Yeah. Yeah. I made a video, Calvin, about a couple of years ago, and it talked about the residuals and, you know, how we're left to pick up the pieces. But some of the things or some of the barriers in healing are the constant reminders. You know, you guys have children together. So it's, you know, chances are, even looking at your children, you're going to be thinking about your wife sometimes. And then maybe even her lack of presence because she's far away on top of that. So, you know, when in those type of situations, you're going to think about her. So the goal is not, so your memory is not going to wipe out, Calvin. So I'll say that right off the rip. You know, a lot of people, they come to me and they want to forget about the narcissist. I don't know if there's somebody that can hypnotize people, and maybe, I don't know. But the goal isn't to zap the memories per se. It's the perceptions around that. And, you know, if there's a bunch of negative thoughts, maybe reworking those thoughts and coming up with another perception, not like some illusion or lie, but seeing different angles perhaps as something that can lessen the sting of whatever those thoughts are that you're having, or maybe even get rid of them if they're thoughts that you shouldn't even be having. You know, like, what are they based off of? And are you reliving memories or, you know, experiences that you had with her that were unpleasant, that would indicate that, there's some healing that you need to do, some things that you have to work through. And it's not healing that you'll never think about these experiences, but the hold that those experiences will have on you, the emotional impact, we're going to make that lesser because you've worked through it. So I don't know if that helps in any kind of way. And then, because you guys do have the kids, I don't know if you still have to communicate with her a lot, and, if she's doing current things, or I don't know if you mean it's been 5 years and no contact. I'm not really sure all the details here, but hopefully that helps. You're welcome, Tracy. All right, so I don't see any other questions or concerns or anything like that. So I guess I'll go ahead and end the live chat, you guys. It was great, spending time with you guys today. Share the channel, subscribe if you haven't, hit the like button. It helps to grow the channel, you guys. And until next time, never, ever, ever give up on yourself. Continue to do the work and take care, you guys. Have a good evening.